broadcast is about abatement. And we'll be viewing and discussing a channel that provides information concerning estates and statuses, correction, processes, and so forth. So we're going to dive right into it. But what we did was we have a video, had AI to do a video summary of the video. Now I'm going to be narrating as we view the video. Okay, but this is the summation of the video. You can view that in the comment section. This video discusses the strategy use of Freedom of Information Act and requests and understanding bankruptcy estates as powerful tools to navigate financial and legal issues, particularly concerning debt, government agencies, and corporate entities. Okay, let's get started.
I'm gonna upload. I'm just gonna use Vimeo, whatever. If somebody get access to it, whatever. I'm getting so tired of trying to keep stuff. It is hard to keep your stuff private because I really think like some people, I don't want to call them ignorant, but this can be kind of difficult to understand. Okay, and so I get scared that like, okay, if this falls into the wrong person's hands and they go out here and hurt themselves because they really don't understand kind of what's going on, I feel responsible. I do. But it's difficult trying to keep stuff like between a small group of people. It's hard. It's very hard to do. But yes, I will. Let me see. Let me be sure.
Okay, I would like to address that statement. And the reason why I would like to address that statement is because what people need to understand about a spirit. You cannot trap a spirit, you cannot capture a spirit. A spirit must move. And the information that's that you are holding, okay, is information that you possibly should not be holding because it does not belong to you. It is not private. It is not proprietary to you. Don't you think it's a lot of people out here hurting that needs this information? And so the universe is going to allow that information to spill out. One way or another, it's going to spill out your gut, sort of. You're going to have to disseminate the information because if you don't, someone else will do it in your stead. That is what is called eco. Eco. That means it has to keep moving. It has to regenerate itself. It has to uh, evolve. Okay? The information that you have is not the end all anyway. So if you're creating materials alluding to you have the answer, okay? Well, just as easily as you created that materials stating that you have the answers uh, to solve different issues in processes, the systems change so that your processes are ineffective. This is why certain things you cannot solidify. The only thing you can solidify is things that are already permanent. They're not going to move. For example, um, you have the elements, okay? All the elements on the table. You can work with those. Those are essential elements, meaning they are perpetual. They will perpetually be um, commodities or important to our ecosystem, our very existence of living. For example, salt is on that table, okay, on the elements table. And the Bible styles people as the salt of the earth, okay? But the real salt of the earth is the ideas, okay? And so, just like salt is one of the least expensive items that you can purchase. And, and it's because of the abundance of that, okay? And what you don't understand is you thought what you came up with was proprietary. However, it's only proprietary to the people who understand it. That's what private means. It is private. Haven't you noticed that when you release like very pertinent content and the people are still asking questions because it's private to them? They didn't even understand what you said. It's still private. I don't care how clear and concise you are with disseminating the information. I noticed that people still have a lot of questions. And the people who have questions are asking because they did not get it. So it is still a secret to them. The people who not asking questions, trust me. That's the listen to the word. Trust me. Okay? Trust. Know how people say trust me? That's a community trust. They got it, baby. They just ain't saying nothing because they not minors. They got it. You'll see some appreciation. That means they got it. Okay? The people, the private people you want to have the information got it. You got to know and understand that just emphatically as you thought that you knew that you had a some level of responsibility to the information, and you do. But guess what? It's other people out there dissemination without good intent, and so they're finding out information, and they're more aggressive than you are because of their ill intent. They're a little more aggressive at getting the information. And so what they do is once they get the information, they have already disseminated in private to you amongst their people. This is why you think it's new. What you're bringing to the table is new. And I can show you some information predating Patrick, which is he uh, increased in knowledge, and he is not the end all. I know some people, Yusef is colder than Patrick with them papers, with them documents. I'm telling you, Yusef colder than them. And he got sense from both perspectives. This is what I judge people's academic and or intellectual competence level. Okay, not did you tell me something different or in a different way than someone else, because that's just your unique style of deliberation. But that does not equate to a higher level of intellect when you're reliant upon someone else. So basically, to me, all you can possibly do is validate or tell me how you validated incorporating their systems into yours because you don't have your own systems. And if you notice that the person you were following didn't have the processes that you use proprietary to your estate, okay, then you're not supposed to even be selling that if you want it to be proprietary. It's supposed to be private to your estate. That's what people not understanding. They saying they teaching the difference between the private and the public, but then I hear all the time people making errors as to their understanding of, now we all learning, of the private and the public. Okay, it's understood. We all learning. But um, I can and I am and I will um, do some critiquing of Patrick's content, Patrick Devine. I have not even included his content on this channel before because I do feel the same as this content creator as responsible for the information and who gets it, okay, and how they get it. And and Patrick Devine do a lot of conspiracy theories and he do a lot of ranting in between actually disseminating information. To me is just unfruitful. um, his documents may be on point, but his teaching style is ineffective for me because I do clear and concise. And this is the way contracts are supposed to be done, clear and concise. If you want to disseminate information to me, decode it. Don't give it to me coded. If my whole purpose for listening to you is to decode this information, why are you disseminating it coded if your purpose is supposed to be you need to know the purpose of the reason why you're disseminating this content. You need to understand that this content is in public domain. And because it is an evolving um, situations, it's evolving even as people uh, create cases and file cases in the court. The situation and the circumstances are evolving by the minute, by the second. People are drafting court cases that will affect law, all law, okay? And what I mean by affect all law, they'll affect the color of law that we are facing right now, which is a fictitious instrument, okay? And I'm not going in and explaining all that. This is about abatement. And, well, that's what an abatement can be, a fictitious instrument that someone files in the probate court. And when they file it in the probate court, after some period of time, they file that you abandoned the property, your estate properties. And so this video will be discussing some of the strategies used of the Freedom of Information Act request and understanding bankruptcy estates as powerful tools to navigate financial and legal issues, particularly concerning debt, government agencies, and corporate entities. Okay, so you got to understand, well, we're trying to deliberate content in a manner where you can um, get an understanding A FIOA request is by the Federal Open Information Act. That's what those letters stand for, Federal Open Information Act. Okay? Because they mention it, but for those who don't even know what a FIOA request is, um, then that's like talking over their head. That's sort of a private conversation in front of minors. And so that's the privacy of the conversation when you speak over people's head. If that was your intentions, then it's mission accomplished. Okay? The speaker emphasizes that a FIOA request is the most potent tool for obtaining information from corporations claiming debt. Okay? And I would not refute that. Okay? I am a firm believer in um, sending requests for admissions. What people need to understand is a fileable request is similar to a request for admissions. And so you will see um, video content that will be going over concerning what requests that you are allowed pre-court, which is actually where the real court happens. You gathering your information before you make a claim. We was watching a court case the other day, and I didn't point out in that video, but this is a point of fact to reference to in that video. The judge was asking the lawyer, why haven't you submitted any, why didn't you're asking the bank representative, why didn't any of the bank's representatives uh, due diligence, do diligence to make sure that you had standing in your claim before you even filed it. And then even after you filed it, you made no effort to affirm that you had that standing at the time of filing, which is a requirement. It was like you was hoping nobody caught that. Okay? They be hoping nobody caught that. All right. And she's going to go into explaining that bankruptcy estates already exist. And so we need to be aware of that in presenting your documentation. What I encourage for people in this regard is not um, to ever file bankruptcy and to claim your estate value. Okay? So I'm not going to go into that. We're going to discuss this for right now. We got first thing first.
Show meeting. Let me make sure.
Oh, my signal's already dropping, so I will probably get kicked out of it here soon. But I will just send you an email, and you can send me a link, I guess.
Yes. Are other people? Are y'all could record too, like for y'all personal.
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy. I look forward to you joining us.
Swiping.
You can send me a link, I guess.
Yes. Are other people? Are y'all could record too, like for y'all personal records. Like if you want to go back and reference it, like you can absolutely record it. Just like don't mass like produce. If you receive the request to record a cloud, yes.
Recording in progress.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Christina, I have a question.
Yes.
What if I filed bankruptcy a year ago because I didn't know what else to do?
Sure.
Would I send it to them?
I'm not understanding. So
would I send the FOIA request back to the bankruptcy court? I mean, what would I do?
What are you wanting from the bankruptcy court?
Well, I wanted, what I really wanted was to reopen it, because now that I've learned how to, now I could do FOIA requests on all the debt that was there.
They already exist. They already exist. So, like, when you go through the front door to the bankruptcy court is operating as a territory also, and you have to understand that. So when you go to the bankruptcy court and they're like, oh, it's $300 to file bankruptcy, this is a territory. You understand? So the bankruptcy court is operating as a government agency, and it's also acting as a territory because it's collecting a crazy amount of money. They collect money. They can tell you what to do. Okay, you need to show up and show cause in bankruptcy. Y'all know I've been in bankruptcy court like seven times, and I learned this. Every time I go in a bankruptcy court, it felt like being in the military back when I got in trouble. And there's one person up there. That one person is the judge, jury, and the executioner, okay? And I don't have any say-so. It's whatever they said, I did, okay? So, like, it's the bankruptcy court is similar. So you don't want to go in through the front door. The bankruptcy estate already exists. Okay, so there is no need for you to go to the bankruptcy court through the front door and file bankruptcy again. It already exists. What you're trying to do is to get the bankruptcy court to go and get the account from the entity that's holding it. So if it's a property management company, if it's a bank, it does not matter who they are. They all, your utility account, your credit card, your auto loan, your mortgage, all of them are holding bankruptcy estates. The bankruptcy estate is already open, so there is no need. You're just wanting the bankruptcy court to move the estate over from this entity's possession into the bankruptcy court so that you can begin the process of liquidating it, or a reorganization. Reorganization simply means everything that your bankruptcy estate is holding, you want it to be reorganized and given to you. That's what reorganization is.
But what I have another question in regards to identity theft.
Yes.
The IRS, somebody's been working on my social security number the last 2 years, and they're doing nothing.
Okay. Did you know that, is it on your credit report?
No.
Okay. What company did this to you?
It's two separate. One was a construction and one was interior design. I don't know what happened.
Okay. And so they're using your participant as you start AI companion.
Do the SSA and
I don't know what that means. Let me see. Give me 1 second. What is AI companion? Oh, okay. It's like this co-pilot.
It's someone's doing notes or something like that.
Okay, yeah, I see. Okay.
So my main question, I didn't do borrow from yourself because I found out about the identity theft with the IRS, and now I just feel like I'm stuck.
You're not stuck. Okay, you're not stuck. The issue is that the IRS, okay, it's difficult to get, like, how do I want to phrase it? Okay, you're going to the IRS, which is a government agency. You're a government, and you're going to this agency to do your government business, okay? If this is a democracy, okay, and we're all equal, that means that you're equal to whoever that commissioner is over at the IRS. You're equal to, okay, we're all equal to each other. No one person can exert authority over the other because we're all a government, okay? Now, what these people do when they get into these government positions, because they understand, like, oh, I can make a lot of money off plundering and pillaging someone else's estate who does not know that these bankruptcy estates or shells exist. So you're going to a government entity that is serving two masters. It's difficult for you to, like, really do fair interactions with the IRS because the IRS is working for profit. Does that make sense? Like, that's the quasi jurisdiction. So not only are you a government agency, like your job is to serve. You're here to serve, but you can't carry out that operation. You can't serve because profits is getting in the way of you serving. You make money off of what you're doing.
So okay. Is that where you said, Christina, that we need to circumvent that by going through the territory, not sending that packet to the IRS?
You could go to the territory. You could absolutely go there's a bankruptcy court in the territory. You want to look up the particular company that you want to investigate them, okay? So go to the Department of State in the Puerto Rican territory. Go to Virgin Islands. Go to Guam if they have and they should because they're territories. But go to their websites. Search the name of the company that you're looking for. Now you have proof that this company, every company that I looked up that I had a contract with is in Puerto Rico. Every last one of them. Every last one is in Puerto Rico. And the reason that they go to Puerto Rico is so that they can hide the money that they stole from you. And then once a little bit of time goes past and you don't say anything, because you don't know that this bankruptcy estate exists, they claim it. And then they just claim it on their taxes and they pay no taxes on it. They claim it as a part of their estate and they pay no taxes on it. And nobody ever knows that this happened, not even a bankruptcy court, because you didn't tell them. You're the federal agency. So if these entities are...
Hey everybody, Walton Goggins here. Starting a business is never easy, but with GoDaddy Arrow, that endeavor is about
violating federal law. The way that you get it is through a FOIA. You need a FOIA to compel them to give you the evidence.
And so that makes that contract null and void because they're operating under two gods, so to speak.
Correct.
And we're operating as private citizens or private individuals under the Constitution.
Correct. You're under the Constitution. Yes, you are under the Constitution, but you kind of got yourself into trouble by dealing with lending money. You didn't know that you were lending. You thought they told you that you were borrowing, when in reality you were lending. And the U.S. Code says banks are not to lend their own money, because if you lend your own money, what can happen is that it can get lent back to you at interest, and then you end up paying interest on your own money. And that interest that they make off of selling you your own money, they hide it in a shell account out in a U.S. territory away from you. So that FOIA and that bankruptcy is the strongest combo that you have right now to getting the evidence that you need, and they will give it up because they scared. Bankruptcy fraud, like, these are serious penalties. Like, that shit carry like 15 years. Some of these crimes that they commit is like 15-year sentences, 5 years, 20,000, 40,000. The penalties is crazy. And also you can use the UCMJ to your benefit as well, because at the executive level, okay, in the federal corporation, the executive level is the highest level in the corporation, okay, but not in the republic. In the republic, the highest form of government is the local. Local government is the executive government. As an executive, you have your quasi-jurisdiction, meaning that not only are you an executive government, but under the Constitution, you were made a militia too. You're a military as well. So you have the power of the UCMJ. Most people think of the military. When you say the military, most people be like, oh, I never served in the Navy. I never served in the Army. No, the Constitution made you an armed force. Those are your two powers. You have the executive, and it's at the local level in the republic. In the fake government, the federal level is the highest level. It's not like that in a republic. So the president in a federal corporation is the highest form of government, okay, at the executive branch. But in the real government, which is the republic, the highest level of government is locally. You're a local government, a local executive government. You also have the power of the military. Should something happen and all three branches of your government is captured, that automatically invokes a...
Now, what I wanted to address before we get too far along in this broadcast, and then I have to go back to referring back to something happened um, too far back. I want to address the statements made about um, not the military status, but the fact that a lot of people who are um, creating these entities, or the entities that you're dealing with, are created outside of the U.S. Territories. They're in U.S. territories, but they're located in Puerto Rico for a reason, okay? And what she's saying is that not that creating an entity in Puerto Rico is illegal. That's not what she's insinuating. But what she is saying is that uh, how the fraudulent nature, the stolen identities, and so forth, that she's what she's talking about, that carries um, hefty penalties. Okay, but when you make these type of allegations, um, you do not want to make those type of allegations. You want to be clear and concise and have your a clear and cut understanding of who the lender and who the borrower is. You need to have a clear cut understanding based upon your file request. Okay, because the file request comes from them. It comes from the entity. Okay, I um, assuming that she's suggesting that you send a file request to the bankruptcy court to get an account of what has transacted on your estate. Get an account, get a report of what all has been transacted, okay, on your file. You are legally and lawfully allowed to do that. It's your file, and they have procedures which you must follow to um, file a file a proper request. But you are allowed to do that at any time. It's like requesting an audit. All right. The discussion touches upon the Uniform Code of Military Justice. But before we get into that, I want people to understand, when people are saying they took care of this and they took care of that and they went and did this and they went and did that. Okay, many of these situations we are taught to view as wrong or as a crime. Okay? But what you really need to know and understand when looking at these documents, for them to be effective in evidence as an exhibit on your petition or complaint, is you really need to understand the legal processes, the legal processes, the correct way that, okay, they did this, and what was the correct way they were supposed to have done that. Okay? And another thing is about legality, is a lot of people, say this is illegal, they shouldn't have did this and they shouldn't have did that. Okay? Because they don't understand that there are provisions for abandonment for a reason. so that we don't have property all over the place unmoved, unused. People like to have ideas to themselves, and they'll never get no go further with getting any type of patents. People hold patents for a long time, don't do nothing with them. People hold trademarks for a long time, well, used to, and don't do anything, and then get mad because um, somebody using that trademark in commerce. Well, it's not allowed for you to have a name or a title and you not using it in commerce. This is the reason why we try to let YouTube know that we do not have any troll accounts that we don't care about. I sent a notification by video today. Let them know they blocked us from uploading videos because we said we needed the live open. But that didn't mean we wanted to be excluded from uploading videos. What are you doing? What are we doing here? Okay, I'm a little off topic, but I'm not. Okay, because what I mean is people are making decisions in the background that you need to be aware of that are not necessarily illegal. The way that they may have performed the act. It is your responsibility to speak up if an error occurred. As such, I believe an error has occurred here. I don't have any restrictions and should not have any restrictions on any of my accounts. Why am I being restricted then from uploading videos? Okay, I can go live, but I'm not allowed, and I can create shorts, but I'm not even allowed to upload shorts. And then so it's the upload issue all the way around, okay, across the board. So what the problem is people not understanding is when you didn't upload nothing in the system intentionally, then that left room to assume that you are a dead entity, a person that's really not a contributor to society, okay? And this is why they label the average citizen as an enemy of the state, okay? Because um, you are an enemy of your estate if you have not been working to build your own estate, okay? If you have been working to build your own estate intentionally, then you need to announce that I am not an enemy of my estate, and that I have not abandoned it. And to the contrary, I have been applying all of these forms and kinds of applications to that are evidence and to evidence my claim that I have been active the whole time, okay, since my inception. That's your birth date. Okay, moving right along. But people got to understand what abatement is, um, and ademption. Ademption is, people will say it in a way that this portion of the will cannot be fulfilled, okay? Because some lack of redeeming quality, okay? So what they did is they have categorized your assets in this category and you didn't know it, all right? And so what they're saying is you dead and all your assets fit this category that they haven't been assigned to anyone. So in if they were assigned to someone, for some reason you were insolvent, so you weren't able to keep your word and give it to whoever you wanted to give it to, because you didn't place nothing on the record to say how you would go about uh, disseminating your assets, and so their estate is considered abandoned. All right. And so when you're sending these documents in to whoever you're sending them to, they are being circulated in the underground, in those worlds, the same worlds that's been hiding that portion from you. And so it'll cancel. You need to have clauses that cancel power of returning in this regard. And she's not going to speak on that matter, but I just want to interject that so we know that off the rip. Need to cancel power of attorney on the record.
Military jurisdiction. That was a safety feature placed into the damn Constitution. The country right now is under a national emergency. So what this means, okay, and I had always known this to be true, and I can even show y'all, I have been trying to change my address to a military address. And my husband thought I was crazy. And I had kept telling him, I said, listen, something is wrong. I can't really put it into words, but I don't think we should be using this post office box. I think that we need to convert this address into a military address. And he was like, yeah, I don't really understand. So I was kind of on my own with that. And what I would do is I was doing a change of address with the post office.
One of the most mysterious places in the universe is right here on Earth. The world's ocean.
And I changed my address from just a regular address to a fleet post office, to a FPO post office. So when you look at my address, it reads as a military address, because during a national emergency, okay, like this, the corporations got your mailbox. They own it. That's theirs now. It's almost as if they've taken over the United States Postal Service. Like the Postmaster General, he don't have power over the mailboxes no more, because we leased them out by giving them everybody our identity, our name, our date of birth, we gave it away. So now when you want to communicate like with the Attorney General, with these enforcement agencies, I communicate with them. I talk to them in a military capacity. Like I've already contacted yesterday. I've already sent a letter to the Attorney General explaining this to him, that unfortunately, even though it's not really a tribunal, it's void. The contract is void because the Constitution does not allow you to enter agreements where you've given up all three branches of government. But this company is treating you as if it's real. So you have to treat it as if it's real. Okay, they're treating it as if it's real. The contract is void. So in reality, a tribunal really does not exist. They're acting as if it does. So you have to act as if this is a real threat. When I sent a message to the Attorney General, Disaster Council, you can go to the Attorney General in a state emergency or even a national emergency. And I explained to the Attorney General that I'm trapped in a tribunal that's being operated by a foreign jurisdiction that is also operating as a territory. I asked the Attorney General, and the letter is to him in his military capacity, not as an Attorney General, because we're in a national emergency. I asked the Attorney General for legal counsel on how to break the tribunal. The Attorney General can tell you that. That's why they're put there. They're generals. But they're also in quasi-jurisdictions too. Just how the Attorney General's office holds child support offices, that's a for-profit making activity. So they make money, okay? They're supposed to be the legal officer of the state, but also they work for profit out of the same office. So this is.
Wait a minute now. I don't I don't agree with that. And I'll tell you why. You gotta understand what a profit is. Gotta understand what a non-profit is. Okay? And technically, the fees that they charge are not for profit. Did they say it was for profit? Can you prove it was for profit? See, this is what I mean by allegations. You cannot do this. This woman is extremely intelligent, but she learned a bad habit from Patrick and don't know it. All them allegations. Oh, this person had a document that showed this. Oh, and this person had a document that showed that. Okay. But they have not proved that any of these documents affect you. Not saying that they don't. All I am saying is you don't have any evidence that they do. See what I'm saying? That's what keeps what you're saying in the allegation zone. And it never becomes a legitimate claim. What it also does is make you look like a conspiracy theorist, okay? And it deduces your credibility. This woman is very passionate. And whoever set her on this path of anger assessments. That's what I call anger assessments. When you're assessing the situation in anger. I did the same thing initially. Oh, I was mad. I was talking. I already saw the military aspect of it. I applied for military benefits, everything. Yes, indeed. It's on the record. So I've already, my mind had already calculated to that level. But what you won't see me doing is openly accusing anyone of any particular acts that I am not sure of, okay? And that I do not have evidence for. I have a lot of evidence I can point to when I accuse her. It's not an accusation. It's a complaint. And when we generalize, okay, our complaint, that's where we sometimes get into trouble and get into a predicament, what I call a predicament, okay? And it's like right on the edge of slander, political assassination, okay? You got to be very careful. This is why people channels get took down. Because they don't understand that you do have a freedom of speech, but you do not have a right to slander. You do not have a right to political assassination of any one entity. And a house divided against itself can't stand. So if you're speaking against our government processes and you also benefit from those government processes, what do that look like? What does that make you look like? The definition of insane. Pay attention that on the code, the first definition they give you is the definition of insanity. Because they knew a day would come where people would have their forms of protest about what has taken place. Okay? And they have their defense ready. You think they thought of all this shit and they have no defense ready? Come on now. And in their defense, the amount that they are charging at the courthouse is not for profit. And they can prove it. It's for processing fees. When you went up to that counter, now they couldn't, you telling me they can't legally call this processing fee. You went up to that counter, and before you filed the submitted any document, you asked 1,000 motherfucking questions that required somebody with a legal degree to answer. To the point where they had to tell you, we don't give legal advice, ma'am, sir. We don't give legal advice. And you mean to tell me that for that, at least being there for you to help you process your documents, which you didn't even know you needed to process, or how to process them, or properly document them, anything for the record, anything, or set up your own entity to do that, then what are you talking about? Them crumbs you giving ain't even nearby in comparison of value, okay? And that's what a non-for-profit is. In other words, doesn't mean we don't charge you for any services, but we're saying the amount that you're being that you're responsible for is a minute amount in comparison to the cost that it costs to structure an entity of this kind. At ease, soldier. Yeah, I want to send a message. I've been sending messages to you. At ease, soldier. And she a soldier too, but at ease. You got to see things from a diplomatic point of view to be considered as mature in these matters. Diplomacy is seeing it from everybody's perspective. That the people who have ideas ain't doing shit with them. The people who don't have ideas, they know what to do with them. So they take the ideas from the people who don't know what to do with them and do something with them. And we made a pact with each other, a community pact, that when that I have sole interest in this creative product if you do steal it and take it. It's not stolen. Okay? They a borrower. They borrowing it. They borrowing, all right? They borrowing. They not stealing. They borrowing. How they the borrowers and you the creditor if they didn't borrow it? That's not a crime to borrow. It's not a crime to borrow. Let's be clear. They borrowing. It is some people who is doing so under guises, and they're going to the extreme of like people have done me. So I do understand her frustration. There's certain people, especially if you're intelligent like she is, they probably attacking her and they making her be on guard. I feel her. They making it's when people are, you feel people drawing from your energy. Okay, that's what she's saying. She felt that somebody is drawing from her energy. She didn't know how to describe it. But they going in her mail. It's not private. Now, newsflash for everybody, nothing is private. They videoing you by satellite 24 hours a day. No such thing as privacy anymore. Sorry to bust your bubble. That's over with. That's back to the good old days. You ain't gonna never as long as we have these technologies in place, you'll never have privacy ever again. So stop it with this privacy stuff. Okay? I only use the word private to have like a notice that this is to be considered as private property, so that there be an understanding of what I'm offering to the public and what is private. And I divide that in my content. All of my content, YouTube has been holding in private mode because I said this is a private channel and misunderstood that I did not want all of my content locked and private. I wanted it to be able to have it listed when I want to have things in the public, and then have private meetings that is not in the public at all for YouTube to even decide on. That's what we're working on. If someone have control of your content, it is not private. They have it. They're using it in the private. For real private, because you don't know nothing about it. That's why a lot of times people can't pinpoint who's doing what, because they're not understanding what can and cannot be done in the private. I've been watching foreclosure courts and how they use these terminologies and they say things on the record, but they say it real fast. And it never gets objected to in these mute courts. That's the court of the dead. They mute. All right? They just reciting stuff. They're like an AI. They don't have any type of meaning. Because what they were saying is that they can submit according to a statute that ignores common law. They can, if the plaintiff, which was originally the defendant, does not raise standing on the documents being authenticated, that they cannot raise it on appeal. Okay? But the real truth of the matter is the judge should not have allowed it, and the court should not have allowed them to even admit these documents into the case that have not been authenticated. That's real talk. Because that's how you keep chain title record of everything. You don't keep chain title by no unidentified as documents. And instead of letting them place this on the record that they have some type of holding. Well, you don't have no holding on this property. And then when you look back on the records, you may find that they never even had the finances to lend you nothing. Okay? And they need to verify for the record whose finances did they use And the lawyers never asked this question. Whose finances did you use to so-called fund this arrangement of obligation? Whose funds did you use? Because whoever funds you use is the one that has standing, and they need to prove where did they get the funds from. That's like when the laws will jam you up if you have over $10,000 on you and seize it and say you have to prove where did you get this money from. Okay? In the same regard, you flip that shit on them and ask them, if you owe them money, where did they get the money from to cover you till you pay them? And our agreement already done been served. I agreed to give you this promissory note, and you agreed to pay this person for me, and that's the end of the subject. This contract been closed on. That's why it's called a closing. That's why it's called the closing. That's the end of the record. And if you carry on making payments, they showing that your actions show that that was not the end of the record. That's why they keep asking about the payment history, the payment history, the payment history. And none of these lawyers did any due diligence up in the appeal court raising standing, and they didn't do no due diligence to send no affidavits to affirm their position, forcing their opponents to send a firm rebuttal with evidence. If you submit affirmation, an affidavit affirming the truth and having firsthand knowledge of the truth and having firsthand knowledge and no other, that seals the deal that they cannot possibly place on the record anyone with firsthand knowledge, because nobody else was there but you. And that's why you need to be in court to represent yourself as a witness on the record. Your lawyer needs to submit you as a witness on the record. Now one of these lawyers submitting their client as a witness on the record. Now one I heard. Not now one, and you wonder why they lose all their cases. And then they had a nerve and audacity to be in court filing a I forgot what the number is, when they file a case to get for payment. Okay, and they want to get paid through your estate. That's why they didn't get no money from you. They done submitted a quiet claim in the court that you owe them money for services. And they have provided shitty services. And they still want to get paid for it. Let's move on.
This is kind of bad, but if you speak to the Attorney General in his military capacity, he has to speak back to you. He has to. He's legal counsel. So he has to answer your questions. You can assign, when I called the post office, because they was oblivious over there at the post office, okay? When I explained to them over at the post office that, and I try to keep it plain because you don't want these people to think you're crazy. So you have to like word it in a way that's sort of digestible, okay? Right. And so what I did was I asked them that, hey, if ever there was a national emergency, okay, everything would be considered off the books. And they were like, yeah, technically in a national emergency. I said, okay. I said, well, what does that mean for the post offices? Like, what type of address would the civilians use? Because they can't use their regular commercial mailbox. That mailbox would have to be assigned. Like, it'll have to be assigned a different address, which is a military address. And so she was like, yeah, I've heard of that, but I don't really know a whole bunch about it. Okay, give me somebody on the phone that knows what I'm asking for, because this is something that the post office can tell you, that in a national emergency you have to reassign your mailbox. You have to do it. You can't do it through a change of address. The change of address, the postmaster is going to undo it because that change of address is in the public. But if you reassign your address privately, meaning you could just type into like a Copilot or Grok. I don't know if y'all know the chatbot Grok. That's a good one. You say, hey, Grok, in a national emergency, if I'm a civilian, my address is 123 Plum Street in Oregon, in, let's say, Chicago, Illinois, okay? How would I convert this address into a military address? And it'll tell you, it'll show you exactly how to convert your address into a military address. And so now when you send mail to the post office, it moves faster, and it does not go through the same channels that your regular mail goes through. It goes through a different system. When that post office, and the president has already declared we've been in a national emergency really since 1933.
I wonder if that's directly connected to, I saw when I did some research on post offices, everybody has a post office that the last four of the zip code is 9998, and it's directly linked to the processing center of the IRS. And I'm wondering if that, because all of them that end with 9998. When they're directly connected to the IRS processing center, I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
I don't know that to be true. But what you can do is that the post office is subject to FOIA. And so if it's something that you don't know, like that was the purpose of me telling y'all, like going through this with my client and getting this money back out of this bankruptcy estate. And when we threatened them, telling them that we knew that this bankruptcy estate existed, they gave it up to us. They gave it to us. They didn't even put up a fight. They gave that account over to us immediately and told us that, am I leaning on something? They gave it to us and told us that here's the bankruptcy estate. Now we have to go and notify the bankruptcy court of its existence because the bankruptcy court don't know about it. So in order for you to be able to make a claim as a creditor against the estate, you have to tell the trustee over at the bankruptcy court to go and get it. They might have to go down to Puerto Rico to go get it for you, but that's for them to worry about. Your job is just to report the account to the bankruptcy court so that oversight can happen. That's why all of this is happening. There is no oversight. And then we're going to these agencies like the FBI. We're going through the front door. Okay, we're going like, I was in this agreement with this company and they're defrauding me and they're not going to respond to that because you don't fully understand what's going on. They're not going to respond to it. So what you can do is request, like the FBI has jurisdiction, especially when dealing with territories, okay? And so, like, you can send the Federal Bureau of Investigations to collect certain information from the company. You send it by FOIA request. You send a FOIA request requesting that the FBI retrieve the following records. And you want to go and look at what type of records does the FBI, what kind of records do y'all look for or retrieve? They can audit. They can subpoena. Because the FBI got the power of the DOJ. They can do all of that. They can go and get a bankruptcy account. The bankruptcy court can send U.S. Marshals.
Excuse me, Christine. Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes.
How does this work for someone on SSI?
What is it that you want from SSI? Like, why would you... Are they not paying you like they're supposed to?
No, they're threatening to shut it off if I don't send them information because I did the borrow from yourself, and now the caseworker that's assigned to me saying that the IRS is requesting information from like Cash App, like my transaction history, my balance history, and things like that.
Oh,
like
yes.
I'm being investigated on now.
It's a FOIA request. Do a FOIA request because these agencies are not supposed to be talking to each other. You're supposed to be talking to them, but for one agency to go to another and be like, "Hey, is this person over here? Here go her social security number. Here, that's a data breach. That's a data breach." Yes, you want to do a FOIA request in that regard. I wonder who over at the IRS went and told SSI, because I get it. I get VA, I get all of that. Nobody ever sent any information over to the SSI or to the VA regarding my borrow from yourself, and some of them checks were substantial. Nobody ever sent anything over to them. So you want to know who within the IRS. It's a particular person, and this is the bureaucracy. It's someone in the IRS that's doing this. Now, SSI granted, okay, some of these agencies that have the bankruptcy estates like the VA is using, in most cases, okay, in not all cases, because they be using these bankruptcy estates to transfer money places they ain't supposed to be doing. But if the bankruptcy estate exists and it's doing right by you, like it's providing you with what you needed to provide you with, leave it alone, because it's supporting me like it's supposed to. But if it's not supporting you, that's the one that you want to go after. Now I'm gonna tell that you got holding a bankruptcy estate because you're not using it for what you're supposed to use it for, and that was to support me. So yes, you're gonna have to send a FOIA to the Social Security, because you didn't even did they process your borrow from yourself packet?
No, it's been over a year, and no.
And nothing was processed. And
No.
they're asking you to show you, let us see your finances. Let us see what you got, and you never got anything, even from the IRS. So yes, that's what I would do. Do a FOIA request. You want to request the specific documents that were sent, records that were sent over to the SSI from the IRS. You also want to know, like, what is the nexus between the IRS and Social Security Administration? Like, what is it that, and they both have bankruptcy estates. That's really the nexus, but we want to see if they'll admit it. For what reason did these two agencies need to communicate with each other?
And I need to send that to SSI or the administration.
Send it, because SSI is considered a government agency. It's considered a federal agency. So it will go over to the SSI, but you want to request it. I have to show y'all an example of what I'm saying. I don't think I have a copy on this computer. But when you send it over to the request to the SSI, you can't really ask questions. I got lucky with this one, y'all, where I was just kind of asking them questions, and they got so scared that they gave it to me. So you could pull it off. It could work in your favor. If it doesn't, you want to send another FOIA, but you have to be specific in the records that you're asking for. If you could find a U.S. code that corresponds with them having to release certain information to you, you want to request that they send that information to you. Okay, so you want to ask for specific records. I want specific records related to the IRS communication between the SSI office and the IRS. I want the specific communications because you need to see what it is that SSI has. Why are they asking you to give them access to information that is not required? You're not required to give them that, and the reason you're not required to give them that is because of bankruptcy. There is no reason for you to give them financial information in a bankruptcy. You understand? The only reason they would be asking you for financial information in a bankruptcy is if they intend on taking the money or information from you and putting it into the bankruptcy estate that they're holding in your name. Otherwise, there's no reason for them to ask you for this information. But in that FOIA request, you want to know, is there any existing bankruptcies? Also, I would like to know if there is an existing bankruptcy for this account, something to that effect, until I could get an example out to y'all. But yes, a FOIA request to SSI to find out exactly what those documents are, and also request any information related to a bankruptcy estate, because that's your way of threatening the IRS. Like, if you don't be your ass quiet, if you don't shut up, I'm going to go and tell this bankruptcy court about what you over here doing. Yes.
Okay, thank you. You said something.
Don't miss what I'm about to give you. I'm going to give you what I call the cycle of success.
There's been so many mic drops through all of these speakers. Just the amazing wisdom, insight, leadership. My surge is going to change my future.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You said something that's so powerful. So this is Empress. We talked about this before in one of your other groups. You said that we talked about when I had told them that my person was dead. And they sent me a letter in my estate name.
Oh my God! What did it say?
Yes.
Don't give me your name.
Okay.
What did it say at the end? Did it say bankruptcy estate?
It said estate. It had the full name and it said estate. And so I did the borrow from yourself. They changed my what they did. They changed the number for the foreign grantor trust to my bankruptcy estate.
The EIN number.
Yes, they changed it to the bankruptcy estate EIN, which I didn't understand that.
I don't understand it either.
So what they told me is that they couldn't find the number.
Okay, this is the reason why I keep telling people, you cannot be processing these documents and not even know the base root of what's going on, okay? What she basically just described was a merger. Okay? It's called a merger and acquisition. Merger and acquisition. She made an acquisition, they made a merger on her behalf in the background, because she didn't know that she was supposed to draft up documents stating that she was making this merger. Supposed to always give notice to everybody. Okay, I'm gonna send you a notice. I'm finna do this murder. Okay? And that way, whatever kind of shenanigans they got going on, they can correct themselves. Not just throw people under the bus type of situation. So what they did was they connected the name, the beneficiary name of the trust, okay, and they assigned it their own name. That's their name, but they making you believe that that's your name again, just like they did with the all caps and the lowercase differences, where you wrote your name out and with a capital, and then the rest of the letters in lowercase, and then they took the spelling of your name and they bound it to a contract. Okay, that's called spell binding. And they bound your name to a contract. So whenever you write down your name, that it be understood that this name is attached to an estate. Okay, so on their records, your estate is named as what the name they gave you. Okay, they still took authority over your estate. That's what happened. They took authority over it. They they named your estate, and they attached their name to your estate of what they have you listed as. Okay, example. I'll give you an example. Okay, when you sign up for YouTube, social media, Google, all of that, they give you the option of creating a name. All right, and a lot of people did not use their birth name to create that account. Some people created the account in their business name, okay, for business purposes, like I did. TNT Explosive Sounds. That was the first channel I had. I was not very organized with understanding I needed to create another account to initiate the spinoff of the Real Talk broadcast, and it evolved into that. And I later started creating the Real Talk on Air, Real Raw TV, and it evolved into creating categories of channels with supplies of different information. Okay, well, when you created the accounts, okay, the 9-8 account, and stated that you were a trustee, you did not register that, because I see a lot of these people with these processes, and none of the processes tell them after they've done all that they need to that is not private. Okay, that is not a private process, and so you will need to have follow-up documentation. And when you do not have follow-up documentation, this is the reason why they're requesting. Why are you scared? They just requesting follow-up information. All you have to do is say, nothing has changed. And then they would have to produce some type of contrary evidence to cut your shit off. And see, she couldn't answer that because she don't understand that aspect of it. She know that they don't really have a right, and she in fight mode, fight or flight mode. Send them over, and then threatening this. You don't have to do any of that. Just tell them nothing has changed. Has anything changed? If something has changed, report the change. They're asking you for your any personal accounts that you would like to disclose. Do you have any personal accounts that you would like to disclose? If the answer to that question is no, then you don't have any other additional information to offer. It's that simple. Your application has already been completed and approved. And that's all the information that you have to offer to them. Get that on the record. Why do people think they have to? Who told you you had to do this? Where on that sheet of paper did it say you had to have an account? Where on this sheet of paper did it say it authorized them to require you to? They just put on there, if you got this, if, and you took a if as a demand? Come on now. You took a if as a demand. Has any changes been made in your cash out? Is it just the same regular old activity that you've been having? Or do you have some transactions of some large amounts? Then it's not the, what do you call that? Just the Social Security you need to be contacting. You need to be contacting Cash App. And cancel any contracts you made with them that will allow them to share your personal private information. People need to stop sending a whole bunch of shit out and first start with canceling the contracts that are already in place. If you want to cancel it, if you don't agree to the terms, and you already know in your mind you don't agree to how you've been handling it, then you send them a letter to rescind or redress the contract, or just cancel it, revoke it all outright. Or you can revoke aspects of it. I revoke your ability to collect on this agreement as if you are the lender. I revoke that. You can no longer collect on this account in under the pretenses of being the lender. And send an affidavit of that to that effect, stating that you are, in fact, the original correct creditor and have first-hand knowledge of the facts, and that you well know that they are not able to produce a wet ink signature to refute that fact. Because a lot of times people ask, is this original? No, it's not the original. You know it's not the original. So you don't even ask, is that the original? No, it is not. And people need to stop signing these housing contracts and don't maintain the original. You were supposed to have, your lawyer was supposed to have, oh, this new news I'm dropping here about houses. Get it while it's hot. Get it while it's hot. You ain't gonna hear this nowhere else but here. When you sign for a house, you need to maintain the original contract. Once you have maintained the original contract, then you can testify to a fact that whatever they're holding is not the original terms of agreement. Because you know that they don't have it because you have the original. They have you sign a promissory note. Soon as you sign it, don't let that motherfucker go out your hand. You sign it in blue ink, and you you say, let me get a copy of this. I want a copy of this. and y'all keep the copy for the record. Because that bullshit that they be doing, um, uh, giving you the copies, and they keep the original, and they submit it in the record as it they property. See how they switch shit up? You come to that table with your own promissory note already drafted up. See what happened? You come to that closing with your own promissory note drafted up on bonded paper. See what happened? Okay? Because then they're going to know your eyes are open to what's going on. Well, at least you'll appear that your eyes is open to what's going on. And they'll probably try to contest it in some way and say you have to sign their documents because it's this and it's that. And you tell them you don't want to do no deal with nobody else's documents. And it's your property and your right. And you get that on the record that they refusing you to be able to submit your own documents on your closing. And if they try to back out the deal, you take their ass to court on those grounds, because that's illegal activity on its face. Now that you can call all kind of deceptive practices, so forth. I mean, it fits it on all folds. Okay. When you accuse somebody, that accusation got to be on all folds. I mean, you got to have some evidence to back that shit up on. That way it can stand by itself. Can't go by just somebody else say it. It's got to be able to stand. You got to have first-hand knowledge of the facts to be just willy-nilly just that's why they said a lot of times allegedly, or it was said that this, it was told. That's secondhand knowledge. That's kind of testimony shouldn't even be admitted in the court, but they've been allowing it because it's nobody to have knowledge that will speak up and say, wait a minute, I object. This type of shenanigans is not supposed to be going on. But you got to have a intelligible objection. It's got to be intelligent. Can't be full of accusations. You got to be able to summarize the events that created the violation. What created the violation, not leading up to. What you have to summarize the leading up to and get to the point. What caused the violation to you? Okay? When they sent her that letter, she can't say, oh, it put her in fear. Because she put herself in fear because she's afraid she was doing something she didn't have no business. Now she running over here and asking the person who she learning this information from, she asking them, okay, what do I do about, because she a minor. She had no business filing these documents in the first place. That's the reason she don't know how to defend herself. That's the reason why she don't know she don't even need to defend herself. She just needs to speak on the record what's going on. Ain't nothing changed. What y'all got going on? That was the answer. Ain't nothing changed that would have any bearing on my qualification for these benefits. That's all you have to do is state that for the record. That nothing in my private or financial matters has any bearing on your qualification for these benefits. And they know that. But you got to put that on the record and tell them that you know that. But you didn't know that. You didn't understand that. That's the reason you shouldn't have been filling out them other documents. This is the reason why they charging you up. Or that may be just a regular procedure, and you think it's something out of the ordinary, and you reacting because you assuming that it has something to do with those other documents. Unless they stated that it has something to do with those documents, then you have no reason to assume that. But you did that on your own, just like everything else in the color of law. And if they can make you believe you're guilty of something because of your guilty conscience, then they're going to impress you on your guilty conscience. Only reason why sis is speaking so emphatically to defend you is because she understands that you don't know that you have certain rights that you can assert, okay? But at the same time, she's not understanding the fact that you having to run to her to ask her what you should do next is a sign that you should not have been processing these documents in the first place. Because that means things is going to consistently occur where you're going to need her assistance again and again and again and again because you ain't learned nothing. All you learned was how to depend on her. These documents are for independence, not dependence. For independence, not dependence. And if you don't understand what independence is, you have no business filling out these documents. You know, I understand people saying, okay, since I found out about this and I found out about that, I want to do this. That's what I call the monkey see, monkey do syndrome. The monkey see, monkey do syndrome had you doing shit just because other people doing it. This is why a lot of my content is original, because I don't go to other people's content or listen to no fucking instructional videos about how to create my channel. Now, if you was gonna tell me some little ins and outs of the programming to show me how to put my tags and all of that, let's watch videos for that purpose. But you ain't gonna tell me what the hell to put on my titles and all that. That's my that's proprietary to me. Don't you worry your pretty little head about that part. And I'm saying that in response to some of the videos where they said they was gonna tell you about how to, properly set up your video when you upload it and this and that. But within that instructional video, they tell you how to be like them or how to be like somebody else. And I'll show you how to be like me. I don't want to know how to be like you. I didn't ask you for that. And that wasn't the title of this motherfucking video, that you was going to instruct me how to be like you. You said you was going to instruct me how to increase my traffic or something like that, or affect the algorithms. All right. Now, yes, it will affect the algorithms for me to use your titles and your tags and all the instructions that you gave for me to follow after your pattern and your DNA uh, of upload, so that the system detect that we all like you. That's giving you credit, and we all have to go up under you and follow your lead. No, thank you. No, thank you. It's not that I don't like following leaders. You are not a leader. If you're telling me some type of program you found out or you learned for yourself, okay, for you to maximize your services, your viewership, your subscriber base, and all that kind of shit, well, that wouldn't be using my model to get my traffic. That would be using your model. And since I have my own model to get organic traffic, nothing you saying would fit what the hell I'm doing. So I don't even need to watch your video any further on instructions on how to be a follower. No, thank you. I'm going to tell you how I be a follower. If you are, in fact, teaching me the rules, okay, of the game, then I will listen, because those are the rules. Okay? I'm going to listen to the rules, not because I necessarily want to follow all the rules. I'm really listening to find out which ones are not applicable to me. Which one can I utilize to create an original circumstance? Okay? So, for example, when I applied for my for the federal 501c3 status, I did not per se fill out their application. What I did do was put a lot of forwarding fillers, because you have to fill in every space. So I would write in the spaces where they're trying to make me conform to their application source. I saw that they do say you can create your own and attach it. So I selected that. I selected the original version, because a lot of these applications have the option for you to submit an original version. So what I did was I created a whole booklet called The Blueprint for Success. And it said Real Raw Records Incorporated Blueprint for Success. And I made reference to the pages and sections that fulfilled the obligation of the information requested. Okay? They requested this information. This is what I provided you. And once I found out that I didn't have to submit all them charts and graphs and shit that everybody else is sending in theirs, because somebody else told them that they have to submit graphs and charts. Then they got all these fucking numbers and graphs and charts and inflated as what you call those statistical data and numbers, and just following other people, and their applications was denied. And it had all the appearance of having the technical information. But I followed the instructions that says that in order for it to be approved, it needs to, this one sheet of paper can tell that. I had a whole book because I had more detail, but the representative asked me for one sheet of paper to summarize all of that, and I did just that. And it was easy to do on one sheet of paper. Signed it and faxed it to her. One sheet of paper. And all it did was say the numbers. Okay, this business is operating by 70% is a nonprofit activity. And 30% is, standard operational activity. Like that. Well, no, I put 60%, 10, 60, and 30, I believe. And nonetheless, that is showed outright that it met the requirements of a nonprofit profit, and it was immediately approved that day. Which people with law degrees and supposed to specialize in nonprofit submissions said that the lady told me that she couldn't even understand how I got the state level, much less she said I wouldn't be able to get the federal. But would I already obtained that? We moving right along and done shape shifted. Shape shifted to corporate status. Because we understand that we don't have to be afraid of being for profit and because we can be for profit and be a public benefit at the same time. That's what gives you your nonprofit status, because you're for profit. For public. Your activities are for public benefit. You're helping the public by a certain percentage. And they can no longer ever devalue us from nonprofit status by their own measure, because we have already maintained that measurement by our business activity. Okay? And if you don't understand any, all, or none of that, okay, then that's the reason you should not even be applying for a 9-8 number. Because you got to understand that. You were supposed to did a 10. Oh, they always got something going on. There's new content coming down. Yay. You were supposed to have understood that. You were supposed to have sent what is that, a 1099 to at least say that, if you don't have anything to report, you need to just say, I don't have nothing to report. But you're supposed to send a report and say, okay, I don't have anything to report at this time. Or this is a tax-exempt entity from reporting. You need to put that on the record. If it is in fact so, a tax-exempt entity exempt from reporting. Did you file that? It's a lot going on here. A lot that should have been going on that didn't take place, that now it's an issue, and they trying to clean up the spill on aisle 3. There's a new one. Yeah, we trying to clean up the spill on aisle 3. Hold on, here we go.
To the EIN I gave them for the foreign grantors, which I know that's the right number. They just cannot find it. So they I have the paperwork find here. Your foreign grantor, which is your 90. They can't find it in the system. That was weird to me. That's weird to me too. I don't understand why they couldn't, because your foreign grantor is not linked to your social security number. Correct. So they changed it. I guess they maybe used the address that it came from. I'm not sure. They can't, like, you're unincorporated. So just because you have an account at the IRS does not mean that these accounts are incorporated, meaning that they can talk to each other. So let's say you had several bank accounts. USAA, you got Chase, you got Wells Fargo, you got Bank of America. Even though you gave all of them your social security number, they're not incorporated. So they can't talk to each other regarding your account because you're an unincorporated territory. You're an unincorporated entity. But what they do is when they want to exploit you or take something from you or change something, they'll act incorporated. They'll act as if, think of incorporation almost as in like linking your bank. You know how you want to pay for something and they say, oh, you can link your bank account. Linking your account to make a payment is an example of incorporation, but you've never done that. You have not done that. So someone is doing it for you. I want to know. I wonder if that's that LaRoche, because he keeps showing up on my paperwork.
Hi, entrepreneurs and professionals. Have you ever found yourself in a place that's absolutely beautiful, but realize you too cut out the
work? Oh, I can't stand him. I know him personally. Oh, I cannot stand. Oh, I tear his ass up every time. He cannot stand me. Yes, he cannot stand me. You can look, it's so much, y'all got so much power you don't even know. Especially like with the FOIA request, because like you never gave him permission to access. You didn't ask for an agent. Like y'all got to think about this, right? Everybody is like the IRS, all these government agencies, their primary product is service, okay? If I come to somewhere that is self-serve, like the IRS is self-serve, I get to make up my own rules, my own tax rules, okay? And when I come over to the IRS to do my transaction, somebody within the IRS is peeking in to see what it is I'm doing, and then they start to serve me. They start to give me service that I didn't ask you for. I did not ask for this. I did not ask for any service from you. I know exactly what it is I'm over here doing. Why are you talking to me? And you can ask them that through a FOIA request. Well, I asked them why they sent me certain letters. I'm only requesting that you file what I sent. That's it. So I got an advocate now. So she said she's going to work on the case and see if they can have it done by May. So, this is ridiculous with this hold up, with this, like, I'm glad they fired a bunch of people. I'm so glad. It's good. Just go ahead and downsize it, because at this point, like, this is not efficient. This is not efficient. If I sent information, all it is information. How are y'all punishing people for information? All I did was tell you the assets. We live in a barter and exchange society. All I did was told y'all that assets traded hands, and that an entity that I don't have, that y'all got. Y'all are holding a damn entity. The entity that I don't have is withholding. So y'all go ahead and release the payment from the entity that I'm not holding, that y'all are holding, and release the payment to me.
Christina,
it don't take all of this. I'm sorry.
I have a question. Yes. Because I think my situation is a little different. I actually, unbeknownst to me, went through the front door, in which I had filed bankruptcy, Chapter 7, in order to save my mother's home, which was in my name. Okay. And essentially, they foreclosed on it. The court is hanging on to the surplus funds, right? And I made an attempt to close the bankruptcy case. They won't let me because the U.S. trustee is trying to tap into the surplus in order to settle the quote-unquote false debt. Now, when I sent in my schedules, I sent it in showing me as the creditor. and the judge wanted me to change it to make myself the debit, the debtor or whatever, which I haven't done as yet. So I'm trying to figure out how to maneuver around this because they won't let me out of this bankruptcy, and they took the house anyway, and now they're trying to get the surplus funds.
Okay. You can do a FOIA request. I would do a FOIA request to that trustee. And you request specific records, okay? Because they're saying this is bankruptcy. So you're saying some assets exist somewhere that I am unaware of, okay? Also, in terms of identity, this is an identity issue. Technically, they're not wrong because when you go in the front door, like when you file voluntary bankruptcy, okay, let me see. You're going to do a FOIA. You're definitely going to do a FOIA. In the FOIA request, you want all documents, records, everything related to any information that was submitted, any records that exist between the mortgage company and the bankruptcy court. You want all records, every record. Also, you want any records on...
I have student loans that they're trying to tap into. They're trying to tap into the credit card, a car loan, all that kind of stuff to use the surplus fund to pay that down. So I know that's not really what they're doing, but
it's not. Yes, you want to expose that bankruptcy, this is the problem with this system, y'all. And this is so jacked up. This is the problem with this system, is that they can both act as a government and for profit. And if we go in the front door, they're going to act for profit. Okay, you can get it closed through a FOIA. I would have to sit and think of like the specific questions that, like what records would you request in order to get them to send you? I know you want to ask them about the bankruptcy estate. You want to ask them about the bankruptcy estate that is held by the bankruptcy court, and you want to know about the bankruptcy estate that is being held by this mortgage company, student loan company. It does not matter. You want all records related to those bankruptcy estates, because what the bankruptcy court is trying to do, he is aware.
No. Oh, Lord, no. What she can do is file a quiet title. Okay, just like you do a quick claim deed. Okay, you do a quick claim deed stating that, first of all, the estate of, and then put the name that they have your estate listed under, and file a financial report stating that you are not bankrupt and that you are no longer insolvent. Okay, and what that means is you are no longer in a state of insolvency, meaning that you needed the court to assist you in your financial affairs because you was insolvent. And so you was only giving your authority to the court to handle the matter because you was in a state of insolvency. But you are no longer insolvent, okay? And you fill out the paperwork for the pauper's affidavit, okay? And you state on the record, on the pauper's affidavit, you don't want to put on there that you are insolvent. You want to put your estate income on there so they can deem you as not qualified as a pauper. Let them do it. They're going to do it by the numbers that you placed on that documentation. They're going to automatically rule you out as being qualified as a pauper. And if you listed yourself that you was bankrupt, then that was the same as saying that you was a minor or you was deceased. So, and that you needed assistance in your death. So, you need to get on record that you are alive and well, and that you don't need assistance with your estate any further. That you are alive, well, competent, all of that. And you're not insolvent anymore. Insolvent meaning you can't pay your bills. You're in a position where you can't afford your obligations. Well, now that you know that you are the creditor, you know you got it. You got it. But when people are teaching you from somebody else's teaching, you can easily embark upon a situation where they don't have answers. They're not going to have answers. They got to go to the other person materials and go get you the answer possibly and come back like they had it, they got it now. Okay, well they do got it now. All right, but please understand, if the people that are teaching these processes do not walk you through a full understanding before even releasing you any product, they are in fact taking a risk of placing you in a predicament like this. Even if they say on their disclaimer beforehand, I don't want nobody to take this information and go do something they shouldn't do. Well, why are you trying to sell this information if you already know it was a lethal weapon? Don't do it. It's dangerous. You're not supposed to sell the law anyway. You're supposed to sell your services. For example, when somebody want to call and get direct information from you, you have every right to charge for that personal private counsel. And it is not even a charge. They're supposed to donate to you as a minister. They're supposed to donate. You can have a minimum donation. Okay? But they're supposed to donate to you for your services, not for no documents. And that's a curse on them documents. You wonder why people take the documents and you thought you created a private process and all they did was one person paid you for it just to get hold to the information you have to offer, and then disseminate it. That was their sole purpose, to do that. And people do that intentionally. They got the money to do it. They don't care if your program, I heard Manson say people was paying $5,000 for his programs and didn't even use it. And so in that regard, I'm sure it's people that got his program and took it to the next level. Not only are they using it for themselves, but they so-called created their own processes with it. Utilizing the information, probably saying, okay, I like this part of his process. I ain't gonna use the rest. I'm gonna just specialize in helping people with the foreclosures package, or with the uh, claim the name package, or whatever kind of little um, processes that's individualized to those specific processes. That's what people do. In this regard, this particular person, she had some personal experiences, and learned by her personal experiences some processes to effectuate uh, remedy in her personal jurisdiction. Okay, so what you're hearing her uh, solvency is the fact that when she's addressed, look how she handles the situation when she's addressed. She don't seem thrown off by it. She's like, okay, I need to get on that and find out what the hell going on with that. And that's put. I can hear her thinking, engines running. Okay. Well, when you're mature, that is the evidence that she is mature. That's the evidence right there, that she is maturing, that she understands that every problem has a solution. And just because she doesn't have the solution on hand, that doesn't prevent her from vetoing and searching out and get an answer for herself, for solvency for herself, to have that degree of information and knowledge under her belt. Okay, she's a soldier, so she gathering all the tools she need to be armed for war. Okay, and that's what she's trying to get everybody in her fellowship to understand. Not necessarily to be dependent on her, but you can depend on her to give you sound information because of her moral integrity. Okay, that she's getting that for herself, and she wants it to be sound and verifiable and intelligible for herself, so she then in turn can pass that value on to you. And when she passed that value on to you, she deserved, the Bible say, a workman is worthy of his hire. Let's move right along.
Remember, I don't know if you ever heard me say this before. You know how they tell you that a positive account balance is a debt?
Order filled.
Yeah. Okay, and I've said before that that's a play on your mind, like they playing games. Okay. Yeah. So they know that these accounts contain money. Otherwise, it would be useless to them. If it's debt, then that means it's worthless. But this is not debt. This is money because you're trying to get it. So what the bankruptcy court, when you go into bankruptcy court, they open up a bankruptcy estate that is a separate legal entity from you. That's an avenue that you can exploit. That while it's true that the bankruptcy court has jurisdiction only over that bankruptcy estate, okay, you also can send them what did you use to open up that bankruptcy, like your passport or your driver's license?
Yeah, my driver's license, yeah.
Yep, you can give it up to him because that's who he's talking to. You definitely not talking to me. You can give that driver's license and ask for settlement. You can absolutely request settlement in that FOIA because the bankruptcy code talks about settlement. And give them that driver's license because that's who he's talking to, that deceiting. You're not talking to me. And the bankruptcy court is here for settlement. That is what it's here for. But he's not acting in a capacity. He's acting territorial. That's why he's talking to you like this. That's why it seemed like he's the judge. He gets to decide. Yeah. He gets to choose. You don't have any right, okay? This is a territory. So to bring him out of that territorial capacity. The FOIA request has to be structured in a way that sort of exposes this quasi-jurisdiction, okay, that exposes that, listen, I'm coming to you in a government capacity, okay, for a settlement. I'm not really sure what other intentions or that you have going on, okay, but in this...
This is where we need to stop, okay, and get clear on what's going on. If you're not clear, it's not wise to let your opponent know that you're not clear. Okay? That's not good instructions at all. Okay? Because, like I said, if you're not clear, that is giving your opponent ammunition against you that you are not clear. Even if you are effectuating or sending a FOIA request, what you need is to write out what has occurred. Write out what has occurred. And when you write out what has occurred, you categorize the information that you just wrote out. You say these are the facts concerning this issue, and these are the facts concerning that issue. And once you write that out, you can write out all of these concerns, anxieties that you have related to this situation. Write it all out. Tell the court through the FOIA request what is occurring, because that is definitely a document that will be used in the court of law, okay, that you can use. So when you write out these type of documents, make sure that you stick to the facts and you don't appear to be not knowledgeable of what's going on. You have to present your hand, so to speak, and say, okay, say for example, if you raise an issue of one of their business practices that's deemed by a statute to be illegal, and that's how you would word that. You know, this act, you did this, and this is what happened, and this is what occurred. But according to my knowledge, don't talk about stuff you don't know. According to my knowledge, these proceedings are probate, and they are supposed to be governed by the grantor and not by any judiciary. You don't insinuate that you don't know who's supposed to be in control when you are the one that's supposed to, if you well know that you are the one that is supposed to be governing these proceedings. And if you have matured to a level of understanding that you need to even write this document, you need to disclose that. You got to disclose when it's a change occurring. Okay? When you want to make a change, hey, hold up. You're asserting authority as if you're a power of attorney. Let me go ahead and get my power of attorney on record right quick. Perhaps you were not aware that I have a standing power of attorney, and it is not, your name is not on there. As a matter of fact, there's a clause in that durable power of attorney, which is irrevocable on the record at Bank of America. It says that no power shall be given to any judiciary. to act on behalf of this estate. That part.